Glad to see you guys all here. Are we live? There we are. We are live. Hi. Hello. I'm
Hello.
Rabbi Brian. I'm on my headset with microphone today due to technical difficulties. Um, glad glad that you are here. I am joined in this Zoom room by all of these lovely people. Wait a moment. That's just Steve. There's the rest of the lovely people. Lovely people who are waving. Those are real. Those are not AI bots, or most of them at least.
What?
Um,
What?
this is this is a Saturday service. I am an ordained rabbi, and I was trained as a rabbi to start services with a call to worship, which goes in
Hmm.
Hebrew like this: Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamar. And I think to myself, it's beautiful to chant things in a foreign language, and it can really give us a sense of the holy, to have some mantras to do, and we lose ourselves in some thought. But it's not the heart of religion, and the heart of religion is love, and figuring out how to love ourselves and how to love the people who annoy us. We were just before the broadcast started, we were talking about trying to love the people who we dislike the most. And we were talking about this quote, which I found on the internet attributed to me, which I thought was really cool. It opens up a bit of compassion to think of the people who are the hardest to like as needing the most love. And so we had a pre-discussion before the recording about this. I want to make a quick announcement, and we had that in this discussion when I was having a fight with my headset. I couldn't be part of the discussion. And last week there were technical difficulties where the host got knocked out of the room altogether. And I'm going to put all of you all on the screen for a second. And I rewatched the video because when the host gets kicked out, what happens? And I want to give all of you credit. And hi, Greg. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Ellen. Hi, Diana, Ray, and people I didn't say hello to yet. People are still joining in, so wonderful. Glad to see you. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Al. Um, what I was so taken last week when there was no host in the room, that the rest of you have done this long enough and have enough practice at doing it that the service ran just fine without leadership for a little while. And it was just such a lovely thing. And so I wanted to pass that compliment over to all of you. What we are doing, people had said is impossible to do, which is to have a group of, what are we up to right now? We have 38 people who are logged in right now, and maybe 7 or 8 of them are on mute, and everyone else's microphones are live, and that you're not supposed to do that in Zoom. But we figured out how to do it, so I wanted to pass that compliment along to everyone. Thank you for being loving and kind and open and making this whole thing work. I'm going to do this thing that I promised myself that I would do, which is to take a breath of air and look at all of your faces and say hello. Because I look forward to this every week so much that I'm kind of tilted forward, that I'm looking forward to it, and it would be a shame if I didn't actually stop, if I didn't stop and be present. So thank you all for showing up and for bringing yourselves here and for wanting to be part of a service that it's experimental. I mean, today might be total crap. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. It won't be total crap. But it could be more crap than usual, and I'm hoping not. I'm really hoping for another exceptional service, but we'll see what happens. I wanted to start us today with something that. Are there any follow-ups? Are there things we talked about last week or the week before that you've been holding on to, that you have a new thought about, or that you've expanded your thinking about? And if so, I'd love to hear from. Is there? Well, let's just start with a show of hands. How many of you were here last week or the week previous to that? A whole bunch of you. That's wonderful. And just ask if there's something that's been on your mind about it, because I've been thinking a lot about this quote. If you dislike someone, the way that they hold their spoon will offend you, but if you like them, they could drop a plate of, what's it say? A plate of food. They used to say spaghetti. A plate of food on your lap and you wouldn't mind. It's attributed to Irving Becker. I wanted to follow up about this quote with y'all. Is it really up to us? Is it really up to us how annoying people are? That's a rough question to start with. I know better because I went to graduate school of education, and you're supposed to start with an easier question than that. And I started right up there with a very hard to answer question. So I'm going to back this back down and say, how many of you remember us doing this quote? We're going to start with a question that everyone can answer because that's the way you're supposed to do this kind of thing. How many of you have found that it's true that if you dislike someone, every freaking thing they do annoys you?
Yep.
Right? Isn't that amazing? And to know that when somebody who you love does something, you'll just forgive them. Go ahead, Betsy.
Yeah, I see that, especially the people that are nearest and dearest to you. If there's something, even and in increments, if something they do annoys you, then other things are more likely to annoy
Right,
you.
right. And I know for myself that when someone I love does something and it annoys me, uh-oh, I must be in a really bad mood.
Hmm. Yes, spiritual
It,
barometer.
a spiritual barometer. That's lovely. That's a phrase I made up. Spiritual barometer is the thing that happens that sometimes annoys you and sometimes doesn't annoy you. And when it annoys you, it can give you a hint. And I passed the building. I have a building in mind where they didn't line up the from the first floor to the second floor to the third floor. The windows are kind of not in the same place, and it's like, why didn't you line up the fucking windows? And when I'm pissed about it, I know I'm in a bad mood. I just need to think about that dumb building on 45th, right off of Fremont. If anybody of you are in Northeast Portland, I can point out the exact. I'll take a picture of it next week and bring it to you. Um, any other follow-ups on this dislike? So my question is, does it behoove us to try to like everyone? Because if we try to like everyone, we will be annoyed less, right? If you dislike someone, the way they hold their spoon will offend you. Well, what if you didn't dislike them as much tomorrow as you did yesterday? If you started to like more people more of the time, you would get less offended. Go ahead, Dan. What do you got?
Yeah, but you can like or love someone, and they can do things that even when you're in a good mood are
You're
still going
annoying.
to really bug you,
Yeah,
because everyone isn't perfect, right? We all aren't perfect, and we all do
most of
those
us. Yeah,
that are worth that, it's reasonable to be bothered by. So I think, again, it's sort of that quote is it's an ideal in a way, but it maybe goes beyond, you know,
right. It's an ideal, but let's get towards that asymptote. I mean, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't try, even though we can't get there. Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, to me, I look at relationships, they're complex systems. There's my biology, there's their biology, there's our environment, there's what they're doing, there's how I'm reacting to what they're doing. And to say that there's some ideal state for our relationship is, I think that's just fraught with problems because
Would you give me that
they're
there are
going to
different
evolve.
poles? There are different poles in the
No,
relationship
it's
that.
a it's a it's a multidimensional space. It's not even poles. There's not a line between them. I'm not going to put it on a graph. You know,
I
that's
am.
why I'm resisting this, let's get to the asymptote kind of thing.
Get towards it.
There's
Go.
so much complexity that I resist the idea that there's an ideal.
Well, I'm glad that I like you because I'm taking this all in very well.
I think
If you weren't someone I liked, I'd find my being confused by what you said to be really annoying.
I get
I,
that.
I think Al is onto something
Help
because
me out, Harold, because I'm not fully understanding this, and it could be.
when you
I think it
interface
might
with
be me.
people, when you interface with people, it's up to you to make some kind of a decision knowing who you are. And like dislike is a black and white decision. There's a whole bunch of middle
Oh, I
ground,
get you. I get you. I get you.
a whole bunch of middle ground that you don't have to like, but you can be polite. You can excuse yourself. There's a myriad of things in the middle. This whole human relation thing is not black and white. It is not like dislike.
I got you.
It's
Al, is
Al
that a
said.
fair assessment? Al says thumbs up. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Harold, for helping me to understand better. It's not like dislike, but I can lean. Am I fair to say I can lean towards liking more people more of the time?
No, because you're going towards the black and white. You can be neutral. You don't have to make that decision. You remember your recognize, accept, understand, respond, your
Maybe
rules.
it's we
And
can be open to people more
we
often.
we
Yeah.
we have the
Who?
perfect right to have a neutral response. Hi, how are you? Neutral
Okay.
Janice and
response.
Laurie have their hands up.
Hold on. I got Janet, then Lori, and wow, this is
And
fascinating.
Jack's
And then
hand,
Jack.
physical hands
And
up.
Jack.
Okay, go ahead, Janet, then Lori, then Jack. This is great.
Is
Oh my
asymptote-
goodness, there's so many hands that are going up at once. This is I have a whole thing I wanted us to get to. This is my spiritual barometer. I think I'm safe to say this is at a good place. It's reading good because I'm not pissed off and overwhelmed that I'm not getting to what I thought I was going to get to. Go ahead, Janet, then Lori, then Jack.
You guys are using a word. Asymptote?
Asymptote. Okay, thank you so much for asking. So here in math land, if this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. I promise it's not a lot of math, but I'm going to put a line here. That's an asymptote. And a curve will sometimes do this. A parabola will do this. Oh, sorry, I bumped into something there. Where it will get closer and closer towards this line, but never quite reach it.
Oh,
It's
huh.
closer and closer and closer. That's the asymptote. That we're getting
Okay.
closer towards loving people unconditionally, but we can never really get there.
It's the poetry of math.
It's a poetry of math. Janet, thank you also for doing that beautiful thing where you ask when you have a question. It's amazing how helpful that is. Thank you for asking. And also, folks, if you have a question that has to do with the understanding, not to add information, but you just don't understand, please just interrupt because I hate for you to have to wait that long. But go ahead, Lori.
I was just gonna say, I don't think when we first meet someone that we have to make a decision to like them or not, but we have to make a decision to treat them with respect and treat them well. I don't think the decision is to like or dislike. I think that's down the road. I think the first decision is to be respectful and not prejudge.
Yeah, but prejudgment saves me so much time. Thank you. Thank you, Lori. I know I said I was going to get to Jack.
Oh, well, basically what I may have said it before. The reason I love
Jack,
all
can
of
you get closer to your microphone, please?
the reason I am talking right now is to let you know that my love for all of you is mainly because you show up.
Thank you, Jack.
I'm not hearing him at all.
Jack just said that his love is based on the fact that everyone is here and showing up. And that showing up is probably most of the battle, right? That's what this whole that's a key component to my ministry, is that as long that it's 77%, it's that you're passing, you're winning just because you're here. You don't have to strive for perfection. Oh, I think I might be understanding where that asymptote problem comes from. Okay. We don't need to get towards perfection. We just need to show up and be who we are. And be flawed and be okay with it. Or if we're not okay with it, not be okay with it and be okay with not being okay. Oh, that reminds me, I have an announcement to make. This is a little early, but it should fit right now. Some of you might know this announcement, and then we'll get to John. Here's the announcement. Do you know what it says?
It's okay not to be okay.
It's okay not to be okay. Folks, I am back on Wellbutrin. Why? Because I was not doing okay. And it's okay not to be okay. And to
And to check in with Facebook.
Oh, and my other thing I have to do is to check in with the lovely people on Facebook. Oh my goodness, there are the people on Facebook. Hi, people on Facebook. Oh, that's for the prayer list. Thank you for doing that. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Anne and Nicole and all oh, there's lots of chat on the Facebook feed. That makes me so happy. Good morning, Shirley. We're trying to incorporate the people who are on Facebook who want to be involved as well. And also, if you are on Twitch, bonus points to Chad and Lisa who are on Twitch. Chad and Lisa say hi to everyone who's on Twitch. I'm not quite, if you don't know what Twitch is, that's okay. I'm not quite sure I understand what it is either, but we're streaming to Twitch and I love the Twitchers. I don't know if that's what we call people on Twitch. I have no idea. John and Betsy, and then we're going to move on to some dinosaurs.
Right from the first time you used that quote, it struck a chord because my wife is one of 5. One of the 5 took up with a guy, and the rest of the in-laws and the other siblings always had a problem with him. And the common thing that was mentioned every time was, do you see how he uses his spoon when he eats ice cream?
Literally, this was happening. Well, that's fantastic. Well, do we have a Irving Becker quote for them? Go ahead, Betsy. Thank you, John.
Okay, well, I have just finished a week with my sister who visited from Colorado, and my sister and my daughter and I went and got a house at the beach for 3 days, and the all the dynamics that we've ever had and everything showed up as, you know, noticing ways in which we are different, that we lead different kinds of lives, and it was just beautiful to see how all 3 of us were exhibiting this really working on our own reactions. I was very impressed by the way all of us, my wonderful daughter, my wonderful sister, and I, we've always, had, the urge to judge and suppressing this urge, and it was really wonderful.
Quick show of hands. Who else has an urge to judge? Anyone? Just to.
Oh boy!
I see almost all the hands going up. How many of you need to suppress more that urge to judge? Guess what? You can do it. Okay, that was it. Dinosaur time. I saw this and I wanted to share it. We're going to start with the quote on the top. This is from Dinosaur Couch, Instagram's feed, and it says this: I'm sad. I'm sorry, and I'm here for you. Aren't you going to tell me to cheer up? People always tell me to cheer up. No, I like you when you're sad.
I still like you.
I still like you when you're sad. Thank you. I still like you when you're sad.
There is a
Thank you, Mary.
there's this similar quote that has to do with Eeyore, that all of the characters, you know, hang with him even though he's always always a downer. So that really reminded me. It's in the same vein as that.
It's hard when we're sad to remember that we're still likable. And people sometimes run away from us when we're sad, and that's when we need the most love. And I'm going to do it the other way and say, when we come across someone who's sad, can we love them a little bit more? Let me answer that. The answer is yes, we can.
But the
Brian,
other thing,
hold on, Meg. I got Brian who's like waiting patiently with his hand up. Go ahead, Brian.
The other Brian here. Thank you, Brian. It reminds me, I saw this little clip of impromptu improv, the guys who do Oscar the Grouch and Moishe Ufnik, and they had like a sound off and were there for each other at the same time, and it's funny if you look that up.
Well, throw something in the chat if you're able to. If someone else finds it first, please do that. To just take people as they are and to be okay with where we are. Now here's a quote that is going to be counter to that, and we looked at this quote a long time ago. I can't remember. I think it was in 2022. And here's comes that quote. It hit me really hard seeing it again. This is from Bell Hooks, and I will read it to you because it's in small print. It says, the first act of violence that patriarchy demands of males is not violence towards women. I'm going to pause there for a second because I'm going to tell you what I would like to have happen. What I would like to have happen when we are done with this quote is I would like for those who identify or have been identified as male to respond to it first and to tell us your experience of this. The first act of violence that patriarchy demands of males is not violence towards women. Instead, patriarchy reminds all the males that they engage in acts of psychic self-mutilation. Instead, patriarchy demands of all males that they engage in acts of psychic self-mutilation, that they kill off the emotional parts of themselves. You're a male, you're not allowed to say that you're sad. Remind all the males that they engage in... Oh, I'm getting an echo happening. Thank you for helping that to get fixed. That males engage in acts of psychic self-mutilation, that they kill off the emotional parts of themselves. And if an individual is not successful in emotionally crippling himself, he can count on the patriarchal men to enact rituals of power that will assault his self-esteem. The first act of violence that patriarchy demands is not violence against women. Instead, patriarchy demands of all males that they engage in acts of psychic mutilation. They kill off the emotional parts of themselves. And if you don't do that to yourself, we'll do it to you. Let's let that sit for a second. It's sickening and true. And I don't think it's lost that the picture is on a football field. Andy, any chance you feel comfortable, and you can just tell me to stop. Andy, any chance you'd be the first to speak to us about this quote?
My association to it personally is something in the area of, I have a lot of guilt about the way I've been in my family with my wife and my kids. Too angry, too judgmental, too impatient. And I think I had awareness of it but I was just afraid to own up to it and afraid to be vulnerable in that way. So
yeah. We were
well,
cut off from it. It's not that you were just afraid of it. You were told not to do that. You were cut off from your emotions. It wasn't just you choosing it. It was a path you were led down. I was led down. I didn't even know there were emotions till I got to college. I remember my freshman year and looking at people, and they would say things like, "Oh, when you said that, it hurt me." I was like, "What are you talking about?" I didn't understand an emotion at all.
except I had emotions. I didn't have any problem expressing emotions of anger or judgmentalness.
But tenderness, sadness, affection,
harder.
Right? We're cut off from the other ones. Anger was fine. Patriarchy's fine with anger. Have anyone else male identified who wants to speak to this quote? Yeah, Harold.
The old famous quote, grown men don't cry. And if you want something to cry about, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
It's pretty common way in my era of raising males.
Doesn't do well, does it?
No.
Not a problem.
Go ahead, Brian.
There's some science with the Veterans Administration about men of a certain generation. But it's a whole studies on things like punching the walls in the waiting room at the VA, and expressing actually sorrow and grieving and depression and anxiety only through anger, because that was the acceptable outlet.
Yeah. That's what all patriarchy would allow. Go ahead, Derek. Thank you, Brian. And it so shortchanges males. Sorry, I got a little emotional about this. Go ahead, Derek.
I'm a little bit of a discussion here because I keep getting bumped off. So in any case, the power struggle between male and female is something that caused my marriage of 45 years, and I always had to be in control of everything. The money, make all the decisions, move across the country half a dozen times. And she went along with everything because she loves me still, and I love her still. But I just had to be in control, and it didn't work anymore after 45 years.
Yeah. Thank you, Derek. Let me open it up after Al to not just male identified folks, but how does this affect the female identifieds in the group? How has this hit you? Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, for me, I'm brought back to my days growing up in an all-boys school, and the way that rationality was put on a pedestal, and anything emotional or feeling oriented was pushed down and put in the garbage, essentially, devalued.
Yeah.
Just got messages time and time again about what we were supposed to be doing, how we were supposed to be acting. And the bell hooks quote really reinforces all that, I can't even think of a time when I saw one of my classmates cry. It was just unthought of, unseen, unthinkable.
Right. Cutting us off from our humanity.
Yeah. Yeah, devaluing our emotions, whatever we were feeling, whatever I was feeling, I would suppress and deny. And, it took me until, my late 40s, early 50s to really embrace the idea that, hey, I'm actually primarily a emotionally oriented human being. And I've just been pushing that down my whole life, devaluing that and buying into that script that it's the rationality that matters. It's the rationality that's valued. It's the intellect that's valued. And the emotions are what gets in the way of good decision making and proper behavior. Instead, I've had to embrace the idea that no, emotions are important and valuable, and the intellect without emotion is cruelty.
Dangerous. Yeah,
In many
and
cases.
dangerous. Thank you, Al. Let's move to Betsy. Janet.
Okay, well, I see this as not just a patriarchy thing, because I remember when I was brought up to have very tender feelings to animals and so on, mice and kitty cats and everything. And when I was just out of college after getting a basic degree in zoology, I had a job as a lab technician in a mouse lab. And there was one experiment where we had to inject mice with a certain dose of ethanol intraperitoneally. And I had to suppress, consciously, I had to suppress my emotional, feelings for that. And so I see it's anything like that's something that soldiers have to do in battle, and anybody who is called upon to do something that they perceive as harming someone else.
Yeah, thank you, Betsy. I'm going to, before Janet, just say, my telling people in the last month or so that I was sad, I have heard so many comments from men. Thank you for modeling. Thank you for being able to be vulnerable. I'm glad, like, that's a side effect that it helps other people. I'm doing it for me. But cutting that off is cutting off my humanity. It's what Al was talking about. Go ahead, Betsy. I'm sorry, Janet.
Hey, so I grew up in a very stoic family, a very introverted family, and I am not stoic or introverted. I'm an emotional hurricane. And they didn't completely try to aim me in the direction of being like they were, but they certainly would have been more comfortable with it. My son ended up being a lot like me, cry at the drop of a hat. And he was in school and his little friends were saying, "Why is Hunter cry all the time?" And I said, "I look over there now. Is he crying right now?" And they said, "No." And I said, "So he doesn't cry all the time." I said, crying is just the other side of laughing.
Yeah.
And of course, they looked at me like I had three heads, but that was.
Thank you, Janet. Yeah. My boy, he wrote his college application essay about it, but he would tell friends when he was 10 years old, when they were about to watch a movie, "There's a good chance I'm going to cry at the end." And he weeps at just about anything. He's the most beautiful person I know. Alex, go ahead, and then Ray. Thank you.
This quote actually makes me really mad right now. I have sympathy and empathy for men who are oppressed by the patriarchy because they cannot express their emotions. But I have to look at this from a standpoint of being a female person, and the patriarchy has oppressed me and suppressed me.
Yes.
For so long that it really makes me angry, and it almost. I'm sorry, because I know that most of the guys in this room are not like this, but to even bring this subject up makes me so mad, because while you're crying that you can't express your emotions, gentlemen, I am upset because I don't get paid the same. Historically, my right to vote has been suppressed. Historically, I've been denied credit. I've even been told at work that I'm stupid because I'm female. So this makes me really angry, because it feels like you're, it's completely ignoring the fact that women are so incredibly oppressed and suppressed by the patriarchy. And, the trend is going right back to that. And, with our current administration, feminism is taking 50 years of steps back. In some states, I don't even have agency over my own body. So this conversation this morning, super angry it's making me.
Thank you for pointing out that blind spot, Alex. I really appreciate that, and it's making me have, it's giving me pause. I'm going to continue with the conversation as is because there are people who want to get their voices heard. So I don't want to derail because I want to hear those voices. So Ray and Nicole and Emily, and then maybe we'll move to something else. Go ahead, Ray.
Well, in thinking what Alex was saying, and that's where I was going, because of this bullshit that men have been taught all their lives, we have oppressed women. That's why we don't have a qualified female president.
Correct.
Simply because we are always told in this society, oh, you can't have a woman in charge. You can't have a woman here. They're emotional. They cry. Yeah, you damn right they do. And you would be a better man for it if you did. Because
Thank you, Ray.
by crying and accepting that there is pain and sorrow and hatred in this world, you would be a better person and you would accept that everyone is your equal, regardless of gender.
Thank you, Ray. And you're getting applause. Thank you, thank you. Nicole and Emily.
I'm with Alex in that I get angry as well because not only, the flip side to where men can't show that that sadness is that women can't show anger. We're not supposed to be angry.
Right.
So, I'm angry that I can't get angry. It's maddening that I have a hard time showing the anger. I am not allowed to show anger. I'm supposed to be genteel. I'm supposed to be, demure, as the kids like to say these days. And I don't want to be demure. I want to be pissed off. I want to be, excuse me, fucking pissed off, but I'm not allowed to be. I have to be a good girl.
Yay.
But I'm angry.
Bring it. Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for listening.
Seriously, it's the least I can fucking do. Emily, and then Carol.
I always remember Wayne having tears in his eyes and running down his cheek. And when he was feeling very sad, he was listening to a story and was making him sad. And I handed him a Kleenex, and he said, "No, I want to feel those tears." He always said to me that the reason he could cry was because his mother told him when he was young that he was a Hungarian, and she said all Hungarian men cry. So it was a real gift that she gave him.
Thank you. He was a good man, Emily. Carol, and then we're going to move our conversation along. Carol, you're on mute, my friend, which is probably the patriarchy talking here. Go ahead.
I believe that every one of us has been programmed in many ways, and that what it is to grow up is to deprogram yourself. You say, born perfect, and then they put all this crap on top of my light. But I'm going to get that light to show through again. So whether you're a man or a woman of this race or that race, whether you're raised with a very traditional religion and you want to move to something else, you've been programmed. You've got to begin to claim your essential self. And that's true regardless of gender, race, or denomination, or any other culture you've been raised in.
Thank you, Carol. Amen. And I think that's the point of religion, is to free ourselves. To free ourselves from the shackles that we've been put on. Bob, and then Greg, and then I'm going to cut this conversation. Maybe I won't cut this conversation off. But Bob and Greg, go ahead. Bob?
I just want to let people know that in my 52-year career of working with machinery and all types of mechanical equipment, that I found that for the most part, women were better operators than men.
Thank you for sharing that, Bob. And Greg. Oh my goodness.
I just wanted to share something that I experienced when I was still in the Franciscan order. And I was told by a doctor, a dentist, that I have no right to get angry at a situation because I was supposed to be this model person. And I disagreed with them and I said, no, you have to know where I'm coming from, how I feel about what you're doing or your staff is doing. So I felt the other side of that also.
Thank you, Greg. And this is hitting some tender spots in people, and I really appreciate that that we're sharing. Raul or Lori, and then Michael.
I just wanted to say, with all due respect to the women who are frustrated, I think what that quote is saying is that it's a systemic problem. It's a bigger problem than just the grassroots men oppressing women. I think they're saying that it goes back to how we were all raised to think of men. And I think when we look at homelessness or any of the major problems, I think that we need to look at the systemic roots and try and change that. So I
Thank
think
you, Lori.
I don't think that quote is trying to excuse men. I think it's trying to say there's a systemic problem in our society with how we raise men.
Indeed, there is. I apologize. I'm having a technical issue on this side.
Oh, that's
Michael.
The thoughts I'm having about this are coming from I've been in Jungian analysis for a couple of years now, and the idea that we all carry a male and a female side.
Do we all carry what? Say that word again. I'm sorry, Michael.
We all carry male and female sides, and we're made to be both male and female, all of us, and we can nurture either side. But my hypothesis is that we have the ingredients of both.
And to the other side of it, some of us got much more privileged in our society based on penis and balls.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Go ahead, Anne.
I have had a wonderful career in my life, but killing animals was really hard for me in biochemistry. So I'm really cavilling with Betsy here. And for 4 years, I had what I call my job from hell. It was the most toxic work environment I have ever experienced. And it was a matriarchy which had adopted the worst of the patriarchy. So it is possible to experience that as well. I left it in a good way. I left it in a good way, but it still was my job from hell.
Thank you all. I'm going to take a moment, put everybody on the screen, and say thank you to all of you. It's amazing to have this level of discussion with just random people on the internet who have all decided to come together to explore. And there's a lot here. There's a lot here. Today's service, as opposed to every other one that we had, is not going to wrap up neatly with a bow. Okay, some of the past ones didn't wrap up neatly with a bow either.
Maybe this is a good time for us to have Maria sort of settle this in.
Bless you, Ray. Maria?
Yes. These are the people to whom we are sending light and love. Gwen, Reed, and Bill, Alex, Aviva, Chrissy S., Janet R., Cousin Joe, Corinne Tamburello and family, Emily, Ashley, Alex C. and KD, Sheridan H., Ebony, and Aru Lane Hill. If there is another person in our community to whom we can offer light and love, please put their name in the chat and I will add them to the list on Facebook. And for the people who aren't named, but who are in our thoughts, we send them light and love as well.
Let's take a minute of time now for all of those names and all the other names. Thank you. Quick announcements after this broadcasted part of the Saturday service that we're doing. We do break into small groups. It's not broadcast to the internet. We have a bunch of rooms this morning. We have more to share, which is, hey, if you got more you want to share, go to the more to share room. There's
not today. Not today.
Don't.
Sorry.
You have no more to share, people. Okay.
I have to leave. So,
if somebody else wants to host that room, please let us know. We have the deep dive where we take the topics of today and dive deeper into that, and that's hosted by Meg and Al. And they did not ask me to tell you this per se, but I'm just going to remind you. We also have a politics room. If you want to talk about politics, deep dive is not the place to talk about politics. And then there's a poetry room, and Betsy, thank you for stepping up to help us with the poetry room today. There's a poetry room as well. And if you want to buttonhole me with a question, there's a clergy room, and sometimes Lori and I both are in there if you have clergy type questions or if you have something you want to say in particular. That's not, usually that's a short-lived room, doesn't last the whole hour. Okay.
And very often politics does come into the poetry room.
And that's not, there's a politics room for politics if you want to discuss politics. And there's a lot to discuss right now. Go ahead, Candace.
And more to share. You can get some of that if you just stay right here.
Yes. There's also the, hold on, there's a knock on my door. Yeah? I'm running a service. What do you need?
You said it's printed.
Right at your feet.
Thank you.
For those of you who haven't seen Annie for a long time, that's what 16-year-old Annie looks like. She did what is classically done in traditionally, as soon as someone becomes a bar or bat mitzvah in Judaism, they stop showing up to services. Annie showed up to services until she hit 13 in a little bit, and then she found other things to do. It's all good. Here's a quote that I want us to adapt. Work never ends, but I can stop. The idea of a Sabbath is exactly that, is to remember that we can stop. I want to know if you can think of other phrases. Patriarchy doesn't end. Patriarchy doesn't want to be found out, but I can call it out. I want you to come up with other phrases, and we'll take a minute. What other phrase could you come up with? Something doesn't stop. Something is persistent, but I can still make a change. Fear doesn't end, but I can set it aside. Can you think of a thing you can do in a similar vein? Is there a thing that you, nonetheless, but you can? If you don't have a different one, does this one fit for you? Work never ends, but I can stop. Or how would you adapt that phrase for yourself? Just say it out. Go ahead.
Ignorance never ends, but I can learn.
Ignorance never ends, but I can learn. Thank you, Janet. Shame is persistent, but I can still love myself.
I think I would put teach like you do, though.
Teach,
that works. Thing. I can teach.
There's a quote that this is reminding me of, and then I'll come back to it, which was, and it's one of my favorite, second, I love the quote. My second favorite part is that it's attributed on the internet to Chinese aphorism and to Martin Luther. And I just love that they both get attribution. And that phrase was, the birds of worry and fear will always encircle your head. Over this you have no choice. But whether they make a nest in your hair, this you can control. Go ahead, Rita.
I was just remembering many years ago, I was an intern at HUD, and the intern program came in as either a GS5 or a GS7, and I was hired early, and I was a GS5, and I didn't question it until a couple of months later when the rest of the class came in and the men were GS7s. And so I went to the personnel director and I said, how come I'm a 5 and they're 7s? And he said, well, you'd have to talk to the regional administrator about that. And I said, okay. So I went down the hall to the regional administrator and I said, how come I'm a 5 and they're 7s? And he didn't have an answer. And in a month or so, I became a 7. And for me, questioning it, not from anger, but just what is the logic here? Worked for what it's worth.
Thank
The greatest thing in life is question
But
authority.
you still never
Thank
found
you,
out
Jack.
why.
Hold on. We got two things going on. Rob said you still never found out why, and then Jack, I'd love to hear again what you said.
So there was no logic.
There's
no but I got no answer he could give, so I wound up getting the GS7. That was my answer.
To ask for it, yeah. Go ahead, Ellen and Andy.
pain and suffering never end, but I can be grateful.
Amen. Beautiful. I love that. Pain and suffering don't end, but I can be grateful. Meg, is that a hand up? You got half a hand up.
It was half a hand up, but I was just thinking that I can relearn or reteach myself some of the things I was taught as a child that don't serve me anymore.
Yeah. Nicole?
Fear never ends, but I can still bloom.
Amen. Fear never ends, but I can still bloom. Anyone else feel that one? I see hearts are being put up on the screen. Thank you, Nicole.
Jobs that I have a hard time making myself do never end, but I can sometimes make myself do them.
Chores. Yeah.
One of the Beatitudes that I wrote in my book is, don't know exactly it, but basically it's when you start questioning authority that you become the author of yourself.
It becomes, say the last part again, Jay.
It's when you start questioning authority, do you become the author of yourself?
When you start questioning authority, you become the author of yourself.
Ooh.
Yeah. Thank you. Folks, I'm going to... go ahead, John.
Stupid never ends, but I can laugh.
Yeah, really.
Fear I'm not doing enough never ends, but I can mitigate against it.
We can't do everything, but we can do something.
Amen. So, folks, I'm going to just speak from the heart for a moment live as to where I am at this. I'm in a little bit of a panic, like this service went off the rails and that I didn't have a good flight path established, and that and I know this is just the fear in my head talking. And a moment ago I was thinking, gosh, what I wouldn't do for standard liturgy, which might
Oh no, that's bad.
No, 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 no.
No, don't go there. Don't go there, Rabbi.
It's
This
real.
I think this is the best service, one of the best services I've ever been to. That this went off the charts good.
Yeah,
Yay.
I agree.
My fear of inadequacy
Amen.
will never end, but I can take in the love. Thank you all for coming and for showing up and being real, and for pushing me. I think that I can take that as a beautiful thing.
You have to remember the first rule of education. You're not teaching material, you're teaching people.
Yeah.
Leave them out of ignorance.
I'm just opening up the room. Y'all are doing most of the work. That's not true. I'm doing most of the work. Y'all are doing a good part of the work. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to put everyone on the screen. Take a moment to look at all the people who are here. I'm going to stop the recording as soon as I hit that right button. Goodbye, Facebook people. Goodbye, YouTube people. And Twitch people who I still don't understand. I love you.